Well, it appears I have one unique chainsaw collection. Um, I've done a bunch of these videos in the past. Why not do one more? I don't really have anything going on. We'll start down here with some old McCullochs from the 50s, 60s. We have two 1-70s. Those are 87cc chainsaws built somewhere in the end of the 50s, probably 58, 59. And to the left there, we have a big old McCulloch 300, which is another 87cc saw. Some of the info on that is misinformation. I've had them apart and measured everything. Um, it is indeed the same boring stroke as either of those two, as you can pull the piston crankshaft out of that and put in these, or vice versa. I've got one here somewhere that was a 1-71 with the rotating assembly out of a 1-52 or 1-53 in it, which is basically the same saw as that 300. It's basically like an overboard 250 or like a 250 Super. Still big, heavy, obnoxious, slow as Christmas. Fun to get out and run every now and then. Those two run. That one will be a really good restoration or parts unit. Next shelf, we have my little ported 250 or ported 170 as a 250 carb on it. Really fun little saw. Ported MS 200T, that's a real deal. It's not a clone. It does have a few pieces of aftermarket plastic on it, but it's the real deal, the main parts that matter. 026, I picked that up at a pawn shop a while back. Got an okay deal on it. It was a runner. Mainly the muffler cover on it. Somebody had like butchered up, had wired on it, so it was as simple as putting the muffler cover back on it and cleaned up. Not a bad looking saw. I'm gonna go through that one and I don't know. We'll see what we do with it. But back there somewhere, there's this will be a long video. That's a bone stock Pro Mac 1010. I've not touched. I've ran it a couple times, but it ain't the best looking thing in the world, but sure does run good. Pro Mac 55. Justin Weaver's 394. I've actually had that here since back in the winter, and it's about fall time. Justin, get a hold of me. We need to meet up so you can get that thing back. Had a piston failure. It went in and fixed it, but he got a bunch of saws. It ain't like he was hurting for it, but I need to get that back out of here. No Mac 1010, but it's kind of unique. Has a ported Pro Mac 700 engine in it. Runs really, really strong. Here's a Mac 1010. That's what that is, a Mac 1010, not a Pro. Another Mac 1010 that's had a bunch of experimental intake work done. I figured out that regardless of what you do with the intake port on those, they just won't handle hardly any intake timing at all. About 120, 124 total degrees. They go to spitting stuff back everywhere after that, regardless of how much epoxy you put in it, regardless of the shape of it. Come to terms, it's a transfer port design. 700 cylinder has a little better transfer port design. You can throw 160 at the intake. On to another Mac 1010. This one has a 1010S engine in it. Again, you can throw a ton of intake timing at those. They have a little bigger bore, little better transfer port design. It's really similar to the 700, if not the same. Similar to like the McBrick style transfers, we call them. Yeah, a few saws there. The wife's little Craftsman, she called it Red Hot. She bought that herself. I ported it up for her. It's a little high strung, but it sure does run for what it is. The little Black & Decker, nasty little saw, but I think I'm going to go back into that and do some machine work, see if we can make it even stronger, but I don't know when that'll be, if ever. And wife's Pinkie Pie, a little 192 TC top handle. It was a full rebuild on that. Anything you could think of internally minus the cylinder. It needed somebody that really smoked that thing, but pretty good little saw now. I've got a couple over here. Little Craftsman 2.2. I was going to do a video on that, but kind of trash canned it all. But it lost compression. I thought maybe, it hung a ring or scored, or it ended up, it just had a really, really wide ring gap. Was down to 55 PSI, not enough to run. So I dug around, put another ring in it that had a better ring gap. Looked good. Thing just will not. I should have honed the cylinder and scuffed up that ring and didn't, and just will not make enough compression to run very well at all. But we'll get into that sooner than later. Another little Craftsman 42cc. This is one of the ones with anti-vibe. It was a flea market purchase. I've done nothing with it but robbed the muffler off of it. And the Weimars. I went into that a couple of times, I think. It just really bad design. They did not have performance in mind when they done those. Got a windowed piston, big open transfers. Yeah, but it turned out all right and runs pretty good. I use it every now and then just here in the yard, but usually anytime I use it, something falls off of it, but that's probably to be expected with such a cheap saw. What else, guys? I'm going to start from the bottom, I guess. Ported Husky 440s in that case. That's usually where it stays unless we're using it. The 880, this big, heavy, loud, obnoxious. Had a lot of people interested in that. Kind of wish somebody would take it off my hands. I think that's a good way to put that without getting into any trouble on here. Email guys, find it on my about page. We got to watch what we say and do on these apps. $3.95 kit saw. It's a $3.95. Anytime you take it out, something falls off of it. I just don't fool with it. It kind of just sits here and collects dust. Might make somebody a good project. I don't know. The cylinder's been into a few times. Still got a lot of compression. I think I raised the exhaust roof and it still had over 230. But it's a runner. Runs good. All but it being what it is. 357 XP. I really need to get the 357, 359 carburetor and put on that. It's got a 350 carburetor. It's really, really torquey, really snappy, but it hardly has no upper RPM to it at all. You can lean it out and zing it up there, but it really needs that bigger carburetor put on it. But it runs good, it starts easy, it idles good, it does what it's supposed to do. I have no interest in racing it or anything, so it'll probably just stay how it is, and I'll rotate it in the rotation every now and then. Pulls a 24 through hard wood real nice. That is the 044 right there I'm looking at that I picked up a while back. I never talked that old boy out of that. I've been trying to get it for a couple of years. I gave him about what it was worth, I guess. Had to get a starter recoil for it to even try to get it running, but somebody's put a Amazon carburetor or something on it, or cheapest of the cheap, and I've got an OE one over there I'm going to put on it, and then I've got to dig around here. I've got most of the rear plastic for it. I'm probably just going to do a full restoration on that when it comes down to time to do it. The last one down there is a 365 I kind of put together out of a bunch of parts. It's mostly an OE saw, but mismatched, faded out plastics. It's done in rhino liner, and most of the plastics dyed black. People really, really love that, by the way. I get more negative and comments and hate on that than anything. You just wouldn't believe it. You ruined such a beautiful saw. 365. I hate that muffler mod. Either got to do some grinding on that. I just pick up a muffler and do some deflectors. I've gotten to where I really like that. It's just a lot cleaner look. just my opinion on it. That's one of my 2171s. Again, the Farmer Tech muffler and just a nice clean deflector, nice clean muffler mod. Some people like those ugly muffler mods, believe it or not. 361 kit saw, again, just deflectors on it. I've ran that saw to death. It paid for itself, or paid for the kit, just on how much firewood alone that thing is cut. And then I think over here we got 455 Rancher, ported, has a pop-up in it. Runs really good, but it's either got a tank vent issue or the spring and the carburetor for the meter and lever is too weak, because if you're running it and it's warm out, it'll blow all the fuel out of the tank through the carburetor, if that makes sense when you shut it off. So it's probably just to do with that metering lever and spring, but I run that thing sparingly. It's been ran very little. What they are, they're a little heavy, a little underpowered even after being ported. This saw, still up in the air on this one. It runs good. Somebody asked me in one of the shorts the other night if it had a... What was funny is I never even showed it at idle. It was just wide open through a pretty good sized piece of wide open, and that was it. That was the end of the short. And I guess where I didn't show it at idle any, they assumed maybe it had an idling problem, but no. When you do your short that way, the shorter it is, the more views it'll get in most cases. If I do a 1 minute and a half, 2 minute short, it might get 1,000, couple thousand views, but cut a 8-second cookie or whatever or less, and 20, 30, 40,000 views. I've had some in the hundreds of thousands, in the millions of views. It is what it is, guys. 390 XP, I don't know if I'm going to port that or not. It's nice just to have a saw every now and then that you don't really need hearing protection, which I should wire on every one of them anyway, but usually don't. It's a nice, smooth running saw. It is lacking some in the torque department, though, so it'll probably get at least some machine work, some cleanup work or something, but I don't know when it'll be, but we'll eventually do it. The 362C, love that saw, my favorite saw, just to grab and go run. The big bore 2171, with the 272 piston. I was almost afraid to do that. It is up in the air on people that like it, people that don't like it. People have had success doing it. Others have not had success. This thing's strong. It's probably the strongest big bore one I've done, and I've done a few of them that were pretty damn stout. Had a kit saw here that I'd traded off a couple of years ago. That thing was very, very strong. Had a Duke's chrome-plated big bore top end on it. Very, very strong saw for what it was. Lots of views and videos on that one. But so far, so good on that thing. It trucks right along. 500i, of course, ran way better than I thought it would have ported. I'd seen some of them online. They were like, I don't know, it just seems like they got richer or something. But my mindset on that one was get some airflow through it, but don't overdo it, and raise the compression on it, which I did. And it's not rich at all. You can limb with that. You can drop trees with it. Videos of it going through it's like 28, 30 inches of hickory, and it was moving over a second an inch in it. Some really, really hard hickory. Then the 661, I've got the 36 on that. Again, it's one of them deals I don't know. It's nice just to have one to grab that's not god awful loud, not obnoxious, not drinking a bunch of fuel. You either understand it or you don't, but also, I've said before in videos, stock saws suck, so there's two we could do videos on, the 390 XP, the 661. I'm probably not going to do a bark box or straight shot. probably just mod what's there. Gosh, guys, we got, like I said, this is going to be long, probably an hour or longer. I don't know. I'm doing it on my phone, so it'll probably take forever to upload through the Wi-Fi. 372, it's kind of the real deal. I think we had a John's Red case, a Husky case, I think it 2165 cases and crankshaft, flywheel, all of that. 372 plastic, some aftermarket, some not. I don't remember what's what and don't care. Got some hate on that. People don't understand. You put these things together, they're 16 different shades of one color, and I've painted some, I've dyed some. 365 down there is painted with automotive grade paint. I actually done 2 of those saws at the same time. All of that's on the channel. What do we got down here? I don't know. Down here, that is a Remington Outlaw. That was a flea market purchase. It does run. I think I put a fuel line on it and got it to bust off and run. 288 I need to get out and do something with. That thing ran really strong, was ported. It was one of those put together out of a bunch of parts. It ain't a looker, but runs really good. And then the little, I think it says a 51, but it's a 55 that me and JK or Josh over at JK done a little trading. I kind of done a Mac 1010 for him, and he done that. I sent it up there and he put it together, got it running. If you guys remember the blacked out Mac, he wanted a Mac blacked out. We tore it down, rebuilt it, done a little bit of port work, painted it black. Really good looking saw, but again, old Mac. I think we got 3 Super XLs there. One's on the back. Dad picked up the flea market. It'll start on a prime, but probably needs a carb rebuild and a fuel line. One of them was the hot rod we done. Another one I done, my great uncle gave me. It has finger ports and stuff in it. Really strong saw. Then there's a Super XL 130. I rebuilt the carb, got it running, and that's all I've done with it. I had to source a clutch cover and put on it, and about paid as much for it as I did the saw. So yeah, I've not done anything with that. So they run really strong though. I don't know, I've not touched it. And then back there looks like the Poland Pro 295. It has a muffler mod and a timing advance, and that's it. It's sat there so long, I'd say the diaphragms have dry rotted in it by now on the fuel lines. Echo 4910. Lots of video on that. I've done before and after port work. Not long after it was new, I did put some time on it. Really, really strong saw. Love that thing. You can do a lot more work with that than you think. It's got a 20-inch bar and a good chain. Cut some pretty good sized trees with that thing, honestly, that I probably shouldn't have. MS 250, that thing, it was a junker. Scored up cylinder. I put a cheapy piston in it from Farmer Tech. Had some crazy timing numbers due to that piston. A ton of intake timing. It's just one of them that if you put the numbers out and told some of these gurus, they'd say, well, that won't work, shouldn't run it at all, but or it shouldn't even run, shouldn't idle. But one of the strongest damn 250s I've put together and ran, honestly, really. Video all over the channel of that thing and the experimental 024 that I'm about to just throw a set of 026 cases I have, put some new seals in them, and put on that saw with an 026 cylinder. The 024 with that little short strokes, just with that set up, and that 260 cylinder is just never going to run right. It has to rev to the moon before you put it in a piece of wood. If you're cutting small stuff, limbing with it, it's awesome, but for what I would use it for, I just don't like it. There's another one, just useless saw. It's a 024 Super, has a 260 cylinder, bunch of machine and port work. That cylinder actually ran really good with just a stock setup on it, but as an 044 carb, the front of the muffler is about completely open. You can either run it on alcohol or run it on gas. Runs really good either way. Just obnoxious. Just it's nothing you can take out and work with. The tune up on it's just all over the place. A lot of that's probably just the cheapy. Who knows where the carburetor came from that's on it. Done video on that little wood shark. There's a 42cc Wild Thing engine in it. Everything's dyed, clear coated, handlebar wrapped. Really good, strong running little saw for what it is. And right behind it, if I can get to it, you can see that. Most people know what that is. That's a Wild Thing. It has an aftermarket plated cylinder in it. It's ported, runs really, really good. Lots of video of that on the channel. I built it for the wife, and she just didn't like it, just due to all the vibration in her hands from it. So it kind of sits there. And then back here, there was a lot of people love this thing. But a lot of people give me hell in the comments of the original video because I messed up on the captions. Don't ever do that. People give you shit, and it had to do on how much it gained. Saw gained like 40-something% running at bone stock. I'm wrong, I'm lying to you. I ran it muffler modded, and then came back and ran it bone stock in the same piece of wood, and the thing picked up something like 42-43% after machine and port work. I'm thinking that thing, it's a 3.3 Craftsman. I think it had one of the plated cylinders in it, but it's been so long since I was in that thing, I don't remember, but I do know it ran really, really strong, but it's not been ran in over 2 years, just kind of sit there collecting dust. What do we have up here? That is Krusty. Just search Krusty on the channel. It's 365 special. I could easily put that back to where it could be a work saw. I could even leave that big open muffler on it, I think, and it would be okay. It's a 365. One of the first cylinders I machined on the lathe, and ended up cutting way, way more off of the base than I needed to. Way, way more out of the band. That thing's got like a 97 roof and makes well over 200 PSI still. It's a zippy saw, but it still retains torque. But it also gets really, really hot fast for some reason. Maybe because the only times I've had it out and ran it was in the dog days of summer. My 61, lots of videos on that saw. Kind of having to look at the mufflers to figure out what's what. Has a 365 piston, and what's funny, it is taller. Like usually you'll use a 272 piston and a 372 because of it being taller. But in this, if you use the 365 piston in the 61 cylinder, the old open port cylinder, gives you the ability to cut a bunch of material out of the squish band. Thinking that saw's like 230 PSI. Probably the strongest 61cc saw that I have, truthfully. Even over top of the 361 and 362. And people will think that's crazy and it being an open port, but search the channel. That thing is really, really strong. Has some really good numbers in it. Pull a 28 through red oak or hickory like a much bigger saw. 272, I built that thing. It actually has a 266 closed port top end on it, and carb set up. Has a 272 carb, but I've been tempted to hunt up a 272 cylinder and put on that just to see if the larger cylinder actually does run any better. And over there, and people ask every time what that is and if I want rid of it, 346 XP, and the answer to that's no. I'd never find another one or be able to buy it if I did, but there's a few of the ones sitting out here in the shop. There sits two little top handle Polands, if you can make them out. and one my uncle dropped off here almost a year ago, a little wood shark. So we have two 066 mags. The first one, I had way more in building this than it was ever worth. Could have actually just bought a running saw for what I paid for the parts and everything to do that. As an aftermarket Nicosil big bore top end, honestly would probably run better with, in my experience, with, the factory bore, the 54 millimeter jug. This one's mostly an OEM saw. 066 mag. It's old school, short tank like this one. Still aluminum flywheel on it. He's a few videos on that. Honestly, don't think I've started it since I built it and done test cuts. I've redone the plastic a couple of times. The first one I done with some off red. It didn't really look right, so I went back with that orange. It looks a little better, but still ain't a fan of it, so I need to get that out and do something with it. 046, that saw was bone stock other than I think a clutch drum and clutch or something. It all flew apart milling lumber, but had that thing forever. It's another one of them. No, I'm not parting with it. The 440 we just done a few videos on that I had in the woods. Really strong saw. Would not have ever thought it would have ended up that strong with such a high exhaust roof and the work that was done to the lower transfers. But it's very, very strong, has all the torque you would ever need. Really enjoyed running that. We'll rotate that back around sooner than later. Got an 028 Super. There's a little story behind that. I bought it off a friend of the family, and he just shortly passed away after that, and it was back in like 2020, so you can come up with what got him. Most people know, or if you followed the channel, you'll know anyway. You've heard the story, but a really sad deal. But that one I'll probably hang on to. This is the 034 we put together. It was just, they were ready to throw it away. My dad got it, and I said, yeah, I can probably make that run again, but if it wasn't for the ability to be able to get aftermarket parts, probably wouldn't have happened. If I had to do all of that from a dealer, thing probably never would have ran again. And also I had a bunch of parts here because I'm a fan of that series of saw. A little 024 wood boss, I've done a complete restoration. Yeah, I know. Again, probably 5 years ago or longer, and we got that back out a while back and changed cylinder on it. And for 41cc saw, that thing was very, very strong. Really good port timing in those cylinders after you do machine work. I know 038. I think it's a Super. Yeah, there's the main downfall with it. It's a rough-looking customer, but you would not believe how well that saw runs and how well it cuts. My 064, I need to get that in there and get rid of that stupid pipe I made. It did seem to improve scavenging, but it's so loud you can't stand to run it. I've got a muffler. I'm either going to have to order one of those little spacers that the 064 uses, or try to grind all the weld off of that and use it. It goes between the muffler and the cylinder. Good strong runner there. And then we have my old MS360. Need to get that out and do something with it. I'll make a nice muffler cover for it, put some time on it. But had that thing forever, but that's not all of them. There's probably 30 more out back in the building, but most of them are what I'd call paper towel saws. They're just some old vintage saws I don't really care anything about. A bunch of parts I'd have to dig through to even, or around to even show you guys, but saw collection, really, really unique saw collection, I guess. But anyway, didn't have nothing going on. Needed to put together some kind of video. These usually do pretty good for some reason. As always, thank y'all for watching. Everybody stay safe. Have a good one.